so today's video is just going to be a really chill Q&A video. I asked you guys on my Instagram to ask me questions about my faith, and so it's going to be a faith Q&A because I did a Q&A a while ago and there were so many ones about my faith that I told you guys I would do a completely separate video. So here it is, and I just wanted it to be cozy. I've got a blanket on my legs and I'm just in this really cute sweatshirt that I found at TJ Maxx for like 10 bucks. It's from Free People. It's originally $128, so go check it out. I think it's so cute and cozy. And so yeah, I haven't read a single question yet, so I'm just gonna go onto my Instagram. So I have told myself that I'm going to post a picture every single day in the summer. So you guys should definitely go follow me on there. I really am trying to like work on my social media. The problem is I just don't like pictures of myself. Like, not that, okay, let me rephrase that. I just don't like being the only subject in a photo. Like I don't know how to explain it. I just don't want to be like, hey, look at me. I don't know. I just don't love it, but I know that's what people want, and that's part of the social media world. So yeah. Also, if you're wondering where this is from Love Handle. I love this thing, Love Handle, but like really, I love it. And I'll have the link to it down below, and I think I even have like a discount code where you guys can get a discount. I have so many. I absolutely love them, and I've literally told all my friends and family about it because I was like, guys, you need to get this. So anyway, so let's just get started. I'm just gonna start from the top and read them, and whichever ones catch my eye, I'm just gonna answer. So I just want to preface with the fact that I am a Christian. I am non-denominational, which means that I just strictly believe like what the Bible says. It's very close to like Baptist or anything like that. I think we just don't have like the Baptist label, but I would consider myself non-denominational. I just read the Bible, and I think that it's all about having a relationship with God. You can't do anything. It's not about works. It's not about being a good enough person. It is about the fact that we are all sinful and we all have fallen short to the glory of God, and that is why Jesus came and died on the cross for our sins so that we could be saved. And I have chosen to give up my life to God, meaning I am following Him and I have a relationship with Him. And so because of that, I will spend eternity in heaven, which is like the most exciting thing ever. And that is like my #1 mission on this earth, is to share people what I have found my life like is for. Like, I'm living my life for God because that's what this life is about. And I think it's important to tell people that because I don't want to have people die and be like, why didn't anybody tell me? Like, because it's real, it's legit, and it's the whole reason. Like, it makes me me. And yeah, so just wanted to clarify that. The first question is, when did you get baptized? I got baptized when I was about, I want to say like 7. I grew up in the church. My parents were not believers growing up, but they became believers when they had, I don't know how old they were, but my oldest brother was already born. I have 3 brothers, and they moved to Tennessee, met a woman, and she led them to Christ. And their life completely changed, completely, 180, crazy. And so I grew up in the church, and I'm so thankful that my parents brought me up in the church because I don't know if I'd have a relationship with God without that, and I think it's really important to do that, and I'm so thankful for that. So I really think I understood God from a really young age, and I think that's important. I don't think you should get baptized until you fully understand God. Like, you can know about God, but that doesn't mean you truly know God. So I think it's important that you don't get baptized until you truly know God. And by no means am I saying that you need to be baptized to get to heaven. I do not believe that. I absolutely don't, because then that would be a work-based, and that's not what it's about. There's nothing we can do to get to heaven. So I just wanted to clarify that. I think it's just an outward showing of, hey, like, I am changing my life. This is it. Like, I am following God, and it's just a symbol. Same way a wedding ring is a symbol. Someone said, how do you deal with pride? Wow, I really like this question. So to me, pride is something that everybody struggles with. Honestly, I think it's more of a guy struggle than girl struggle, but I'm not going to say I don't struggle with it. I think everybody does, and I think it's just important to humble yourself before God and just be like, God is this almighty person. Like, he knows everything. Who am I to have pride in anything? It talks about in the Bible, if we're to boast, it should be about Christ. So if I am ever bragging, I hope it is about the love that Jesus has for me, or how happy I am because I have Jesus in my life. So I think that's important, and I think it's important to have people around you that will also humble you. That is a huge way to help you deal with pride, is to have friends that will give you a pride check and be like, whoa, you need to chill out. Like, we are very sinful and there's no reason, we have nothing to be prideful about, nothing. So yeah, I think that is the way that I deal with it, is I just have people in my life that will tell me that I'm being prideful, and I just constantly remind myself of who God is compared to me and how I need to humble myself before Him. So if you humble yourself before God, you'll most likely be more humble. So I've noticed a lot of questions that are very similar to this. It says, have you been very devoted to Christ? If not, when did you start taking your faith seriously? So like I said, I've grown up in the church. I did get baptized when I was like 7, but I wouldn't say I took my faith seriously. I think I knew God. I think I understood God, but it wasn't the main focus of my life. I really took God seriously and took my faith seriously right as I went into high school, because I realized I had a choice to make. I could either follow the world or I could follow Christ, and that was when I started reading my Bible every day. I would pray constantly. I just really took it seriously, and I think that once you take it seriously, like, you're not going to turn back, because you realize how amazing it is and how much fulfillment you get from Jesus. And so that was whenever I started taking my faith seriously. So I would say about 4 years, because I'm a senior now. And yeah, I'm so thankful that I did that, and I think it's really important to do that. And you know when you're taking your faith seriously, because you can't, it's in your everyday life. Like, there's not a day that goes by that you don't think about, oh, how can I be this for Christ? Or how can I improve in this? How can I get to know God better? Like, that is when you know that you're really taking it seriously. Now, I'm not saying I'm perfect with it. Like, there are times whenever I get in a rut and I'm just like, you know, like, I don't have any motivation. That happens to the best of us. But that's whenever you use the people around you and you pray and you just motivate yourself to get back on that fire for God. I also have had a lot of questions about, am I waiting until marriage? And yes, I am. That is something that I take very, very, very seriously, because I just have the biggest desire to give everything that I can to my husband. My purity, my devotion. This isn't really about the question, but I have such a desire to be such a godly wife. Like, that is something I have always wanted to be. And I really want to be a godly mom. I want to really show my kids through mine and my husband's marriage Christ, like my parents did for me. And I think it's really important. And so I am willing to wait years for the right guy to come, because I'm not going to compromise on that. But yeah, I definitely am going to wait until marriage. And for the people that ask, like, oh, how do you deal with that in a relationship, like in a dating relationship? How do you address that? Like, what if the guy doesn't want to? First of all, if the guy does not want to wait till marriage, that's not a good relationship, because obviously you guys do not have the same values, so you're not going to see eye to eye. And how do you address that? That should be very natural. I know in my past relationship it's very natural to talk about boundaries, because boundaries are really, really important in a relationship. But yes, I have every desire to save myself for marriage, so I can look at my husband on my wedding night and say, I saved myself for you. I'm giving you my whole existence, because I don't want to give it to somebody else. I only want to give it to my husband. And I think even if you're engaged and it's the day before the wedding, I'm going to wait until I'm married. So this is a very broad question, but I got a lot of questions that are very similar to this. How do you spend time with God, stay consistent in prayer, and grow closer to God? So I would say that the way that I think, like, what this question is pretty much saying is, like, how do you have God in your everyday life? For me, it's constantly listening. It's constantly listening to worship music. I think that's so important. Now, I still listen to other music. If you watch my recent video, My Drive With Me, I listen to regular music too, but the majority of my ears are filled with worship music. I just find it sets the mood, and it really encourages me. It's not bad music. It doesn't make me feel bad, nothing. So I really love worship music. It really drives me. I listen to it every single morning getting ready, unless I'm listening to a podcast. So that's my next thing, is listen to podcasts that are going to grow you, any sermons or anything. It's just really great, because it's like going to church on a non-church day. It's awesome. And how do you say consistent in prayer? Oh, that's huge to me. I think if you're not consistent in prayer, then you're not in touch with God. That's like having a friendship that you talk every once in a while and you only talk whenever you need something. What does that say? Not a good thing. So I try and pray more than once a day. I think it's really important. I just find myself praying if I'm worrying or anything. Prayer should be a habit. That should be the first thing that you do. And I wish that I was amazing and I want to be a prayer warrior, and I know that I can be. So I'm really trying to work on that. But I think the power in prayer is amazing. It's amazing what prayer can do. And so it says in the Bible that it should be a habit. I mean, just anytime, pray, pray, pray. Just pray. So yeah, all those things combined will grow you closer to God. It's growing a relationship, and obviously spending time in your Bible, that's huge. That's like one of the biggest things. You can go to church, but that's not going to grow your personal relationship with Christ. That's a one-on-one thing. You have to spend time with God one-on-one in order to grow that intimate relationship. Grace asked, has it been hard for you to share your faith with your unsaved friends? If so, how do you overcome it? That's a really good question. I know a lot of people struggle with this. It used to be really hard, and I have always been really aware of like the fact that not everybody's a believer. That's huge to be aware of, because we need to share our good news, because if we didn't, then like they're not, like, that is our job pretty much. Like, our job is to share the good news of Christ. The way I overcome it is, if you think the only reason I'm not sharing my faith with these people are fleshly reasons. I'm scared of judgment, of what they'll think of me. I'm scared of losing our relationship, and I don't know what else. I'm scared it will be awkward. I'm scared it will be just weird. Like, I don't want them to like be like, oh, you're just that Christian girl. Or all of these things are so dumb if you think about it. I mean, if you truly think about it, I know in the moment it seems big, but how ridiculous. Okay, think about this. Paul the Apostle was stoned for telling people about Jesus, all these things, okay? And if you, let's say Paul was right here and I said, Paul, you know, like, I'm just really scared of like, you know, sharing my faith with my friends. And he'll be like, well, why? And I'd be like, you know, it's just awkward. And he's gonna be like, is that like a new form of torture or something? Like, what is happening? And the fact that we are scared of judgment when back then they were persecuted, like, that's literally ridiculous. It is so ridiculous. And I know that's like our modern like persecution or whatever, but I think that if you think about it from that perspective, it is dumb to think like that. And you ultimately have to think, what is going to happen if I don't? And you have to think about it. I know nobody likes to say this, but you either go to heaven or hell. There's no in between. And it's funny because like my small group has been talking about this, about if hell is even real, or if it's just like there's a heaven but like your soul just like kind of dies away. But I mean, God is a loving God, don't get me wrong, but he's also a just God, okay? Our whole life, like, we get to choose if we want to follow God or not. So hell is essentially God giving you what you wanted. If you're saying, you know what, God, I don't want to deal with you, I want to live the life that I want to live, then he's saying, as you wish. So I know a lot of people struggle with that question of how can your God that's so loving send people to hell? Like, that's not possible. But it is, because he's a just God. We have the choice to follow him. He gives us that, but it just depends if we do it or not. So I don't even know if that really answered the question, but you just have to think the long run. Like, their life, their eternal life is on the line. Does it matter if it's awkward? Just think about that. Oh, this is such a good one. Okay, what are your opinions about curse words or cussing or anything like that? I personally do not cuss. I have reasons for it, and I know in the Bible it doesn't clearly say do not cuss, but it does say don't let unwholesome things come out of your mouth. And I know a lot of people will be like, well, I mean, it's not necessarily unwholesome, blah, blah, blah. And here's my thought, okay? We are called to live our lives like Jesus. And how in any way is cussing glorifying God? Is it glorifying God? No. Okay. And if you say it is, it's not. Like, I know people that literally make excuses. I'm like, it's not. It is just not glorifying to God. And the second thing is, a non-Christian that hears a Christian cuss, isn't that gonna make them like go, wait, what? Like, that's confusing, right? Because as Christians, we're supposed to be these like well, non-believers see us as these like good people or whatever, even though we're not. That's the funny part. And if you cuss, it's gonna cause someone to stumble. And it talks about it in the Bible. If your actions cause someone to stumble, then don't do it. So therefore, don't do it. And you know, the best part about me not cussing is people notice. Every time that I've shared the gospel with someone, it is because I don't cuss. How funny is that? Like, people are always like, Jaclyn, why don't you cuss? Because I'm one of the very few people that I know that literally, I've never said a cuss word. I do not let it come out of my mouth because I've never gotten into that habit. Like, people don't believe me. I'm like, but I've never gotten into the habit of it, so I've never struggled with that. Like, even whenever I stub my toe, like, it just doesn't come out because I never got into the habit of it. But all the conversations that I've had have sparked from that because people are like, why? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got the best reason, because there's this guy named Jesus, and the reason I don't is because he calls us to be different. He calls us to be different than the world. He calls us to love, all these things, and I just have no desire to say those words. And I don't tell them the other part of how I think it's worldly, all this, because they wouldn't understand that because they don't have that perspective yet. Like, they don't have the how we need to be like Jesus perspective. They don't even know Jesus, so I can't expect them to get that part. So that's my thing. And I know a lot of people argue, well, you know, like, we got to get on a personal level with them. Like, they'll think that we're more accepting if we do that. No, God does not call us to be like the world. If we did that, then you might as well just go have sex with people. They may think that you're more accepting. That makes no sense. That argument is so invalid. It's ridiculous. I'm sorry, I get really heated about this, but yeah, all I have to say is that people notice that I don't cuss, and God calls us to stand out in love, and I feel like that makes me stand out. And that is something I take very seriously, and I do it very, very intentionally for that specific reason. And people notice. I promise you, people notice. Someone asked, how do you incorporate faith/God in your relationship with boys? Like I said, it should just be natural. If you have to force it, it's not a good relationship. I mean, if you are both following God, you will meet together and you will, it's all you can talk about. Like, with my friendship with my friends, especially the ones that are believers, there's not a time that we're together that we don't talk about God. It's just not possible, because that's how much we incorporate God in our daily lives. And if you're both doing that, it will come together. So if that's not happening, then it's not right. So someone asked how I balance school, YouTube, friends, sports, and faith. I balance all of those things with clubs on top of that, and honestly, and I'm not even that great at time management, but it takes prioritizing. My faith is my biggest priority, so that is incorporated into my everyday life. Just because I close my Bible doesn't mean I'm done with my faith. I take it with me everywhere I go. It's in my conversations, it's in my music, it's in my mind constantly, and I think that's how I handle it all. Now, I don't know how I handle the rest. I really don't. I have no idea how I do YouTube and how I did school and soccer and clubs all at once. I really have no idea how I did it, but I did. And now it's summer, so I have plenty of time to do YouTube. I'm so excited. Okay, so I have a lot of questions. I think this will be the last question, because I had a lot of questions about, like, how do you talk to, like, how do you share your faith with people in general? And I think, it's really important to come from a loving perspective, and I think the most important thing is that you build a relationship with people. That is, all the people I've shared my faith with are my friends. Like, they know me. They know what I'm saying is genuine. They have to know that you're coming from a genuine spot and from a loving spot. Like, you're not just gonna see someone on the side of the street and tell them about Jesus. I've done that. How do I phrase this? Okay, like, most of the time that you share Jesus with people, it's going to be people that you have relationships with, and it should be people that you have relationships with, because then they can trust you, they know it's genuine, and they see Jesus in your life. That is the most important thing, is that your actions should accurately back up your words. If you say, yeah, man, like, you gotta love Jesus though, like, you know, like, all these things, like, you're an awful person, and never do that, but never say that. But if you're over here saying, dude, Jesus is awesome, bro, like, I love God, he's great, and then you're over here on Friday nights partying up, drinking, getting totally drunk, doing weed, cussing all the time, like, what does that say? That says nothing to glorify God, first of all, and it tells them they're doing the same thing as me, but they're saying that they've got God, so why do I need God? And they'll be like, I don't, and it just doesn't accurately represent Christianity. And I think that's the biggest problem with our church, like, meaning Christianity as a whole, is that it's very hypocritical and people notice, so don't be a hypocrite. Make your actions back up with your words and share your faith lovingly. And most of the time people will come to you about it. Every time people have approached me about my actions or what I'm saying or just why I'm so happy all the time. That's another thing. Okay, this is gonna be the last question. I think I said that about the last one, but one more because this is a very popular question. How do you deal with standards for yourself, modesty, music, etc.? Well, with the whole modesty thing, I think modesty is really important, and I know that culture has kind of skewed it, and it's kind of made you come from a selfish perspective of like, who are people to tell me what to wear? Like, it's my body, I do what I want. And from a Christian, if you're not a Christian, sure, yeah, because I understand that you're not going to have those standards because you don't believe the same thing I do. But as believers, especially girls, first of all, it's not our body, it's God's body. Like, we have given everything to God, and everything that we do in our life, the way that we dress, everything should reflect God. So I think that's really important. Plus, my main thing is, and I think this comes from having 3 brothers, in my family, we're very close, we're very open with our beliefs, and we all are strong believers somehow. I love it, it's great. Like, they're my closest people that in my life that are believers. From hearing them talk, I don't want to ever cause a guy to sin, okay? And it talks about in the Bible how lustful thoughts, like, that's sinful. And I never, ever, ever want to be the reason for a guy to sin. And so because of that, I want to dress modestly. I don't want to let my boobs hang out, even though I don't really have any, but like, you know, I still have some, okay? But I don't want to let them hang out because I don't want a guy to look at me and have a lustful thought. Because it's like someone being on a diet and then you putting chocolate cake in front of them, and let's say they're addicted to chocolate cake. Like, they're gonna want to eat it. Like, they can't help it. Same way with if we just have our boobs hanging out, like, they're gonna look at it. Heck, I gravitate toward it. Whenever girls' boobs are hanging out, I just can't help but look. I'm like, man, if I feel this way, like, what about guys? But I also don't know if it's because, like, it bothers me. Okay, my camera stopped recording, but like, I want to tell the girls, like, pull your shirt up a little bit. But yeah, so that's my thought on it. And I also want to save myself for my husband. Like, I don't want another guy looking at me like that. Like, I only want my husband to be able to have those thoughts about me, if that makes sense. So that's my thought on modesty. I think it's important, and I think it's really good to do. And I also think it makes you stand out from the crowd once again, which is really important because people notice that. But this Q&A is super long. I've been here for like forever filming, and I'm sorry, I just talk a lot. So I really hope you guys liked this video, and if you did, please like it. And if you have any other questions down below, I always try to like respond to my comments, and I truly do read all your guys' comments. So we can have discussions down below. I would love to do that. And yeah, I hope you guys like this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.